who are joining us. All right. Now, before we get started, I would like you to navigate to the following link. My colleague Luby, she will paste the link in the chat box. And I would like you to look at the following statements that are displayed on this link. So you can click on the link and then it will navigate you to a bar where you can either enter the code or you can just click on the link and go directly to the survey. So please navigate to the link in the chat box and enter the code, and then I am going to ask you to rate the following statements. Now, there are no right or wrong answers, but I would like you to rate the statements on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being strong. Go through the statements and please just give me your rating of what you feel. If you're not a parent, please just answer the questions like you would normally answer them. If you had a choice, if you could have your say, like I said, there are no right or wrong answers. But so you can navigate to the link and then just fill in your answers or give your rating. Let's just give a moment for everybody to navigate and to give their rating. So if you do the rating, it's a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being strongly disagreeing and 10 being strongly agreeing. So you can just provide your answers, and at the end you can submit, and then it will appear on the screen. All right, so we've got 1 participant I see already who has done a rating. And if we look at the statements, it says parents should provide direction, but also listen and discuss their kids' concerns. What would be your rating on that? Kids should make most of their own decisions without parental direction. Do you agree with that or do you disagree? Society would be better if parents were more strict with their kids. There shouldn't be rigid rules for kids' behavior. Children should be told exactly what to do and how to do it. Parents should provide direction and guidance in rational and objective ways. Kids can make up their own minds and do what they want to do. Or children should be able to follow their parents' orders without asking questions. Yeah, so I see the answers are coming in. I see that we have a couple of ratings already. Thank you so much for sharing for rating these statements. With regards to parenting. I am going to move back to the slideshow. But yes, so thank you for sharing and giving your views on parenting or on the parenting statements. Now, today we are going to look specifically at parenting support. What is it? When can it be helpful? What are the different parenting styles? And what are the different temperament types that children have? And how do we as parents or people working with children, how can we respond to those specific needs or to those temperament types? We will also look at positive parenting techniques, and we will look at a methodology on how to discipline without the drama. I will provide a couple of tips on how to playfully engage with your child. And I will share some tips as well for self-care for parents. Now, raising children can be a physical and emotional roller coaster. And that is why moms and dads need all of the support that they can get, not only to help them to navigate through the ups and the downs, the joys and the challenges of parenting, but also to help them to keep their own relationship strong. Now, parenting supports provides parents with practical advice and skills in a safe environment that helps them to enhance the parent-child relationship. It can be helpful when a parent wants to learn more about how to deal with child rearing difficulties. They want to learn more about child development, behavior. They also want to learn how to effectively communicate and engage with their child. Or they want to learn practical skills such as how to set healthy boundaries or how to create a routine within the household. Or it can be helpful when a parent just wants to learn some positive coping techniques to help them deal with the physical and the emotional demands of parenting. Now, the practitioner works together with the parents or the caregivers and provide them with the practical support that they need to enhance the parent-child relationship. And the parenting support can be tailored to the needs of the family or to the parent. It is something where the practitioner works together to see how best to support this family and how to best address the specific needs that they have. Now, I want us to look at what the different parenting styles. Now, there are 4 different parenting styles according to literature, but what is a parenting style? Now, it refers to the manner in which parents raise their children, and it can refer to the parents' levels of expectations, the demands that they might have of their child, the attentiveness to rules, and it's sort of their style of discipline or the style, the attitude that they employ when they want to discipline or when they interact with their child. And we can see that there are 4 different parenting styles according to Baumrand, and these include authoritative parenting, authoritarian parenting, permissive parenting, and rejecting or neglecting parenting. Now, if we look at the authoritative style, it is a style that is characterized by a lot of support. The parent is accepting, works together with the child, is very child-focused. Whereas when we look at the authoritarian parent, the parent is a bit rejecting, unsupportive, and mainly me-focused, what I want, parent-focused. The permissive parent is really not as supportive as at all. They have low expectations of the child. There's low structure and direction. And the rejecting or neglecting parent it's a rejecting relationship. The parent is very much uninvolved. We will look at these 4 parenting styles in more detail when we look at the following video.
In theory, there are only 4 styles of parenting. Authoritarian parents are controlling and demand obedience without considering the child's point of view. Permissive parents are loving but don't exert any control. There are no rules. Authoritative parents are firm but loving. They encourage independence within limits. Neglecting parents are uninvolved and often uninterested in their own child. Recently, a 5th style was proposed, but we will come back to that later. The styles range from controlling and demanding to complete freedom, and from cold and unresponsive to loving and receptive. Each authoritative, permissive, authoritarian, and neglectful parents have their place. To understand what it means to grow up with parents from each end of the spectrum, we can imagine the lives of 4 children. Sarah's parents are authoritarian. They love their girl, but they believe that strict rules are important to make Sarah become well-behaved and fit into society. If Sarah cries, she's told to stop. If she talks back, she is sent to the corner for time out. If she forgets to take care of her chores around the house, she is not allowed to play with her toys. Sarah learns that suppressing her emotions and following her duties is the way to get through the day. To get the love of her parents and to avoid making them upset, she becomes obedient. However, because Sarah was never allowed to decide for herself or follow her intrinsic interests, as an adult, she doesn't know what she really wants. She begins living a life that seems perfect to her parents and society, but might leave her unhappy on the inside. Permissive parents, like those of Peter, enjoy their little boys so much that they believe they should fulfill all his wishes, give him full freedom, and never say no. Peter enjoys full control over his parents and gets whatever he wants. If he doesn't want to walk, he'll be carried. If he wants ice cream he gets. If he wants to play games, he'll be playing them all night. Peter grows up completely without borders and does whatever he thinks is right. He never coped with conflict, and he did not learn to control his emotions. The fact that he always got what he wanted made him a bad loser. As he grows older, he often acts inconsiderate and doesn't know his limits. Arthur's authoritative parents respect their child's needs, but believe that kids need freedom within certain limits. Arthur can freely play, but when he's done, he needs to help tidy up. He is allowed to eat ice cream, but only on Sundays. Screen time is limited to 30 minutes a day. There may be conflict, but the parents listen to what Arthur has to say and then lay down the rules. Arthur learns that some things are difficult, but his parents give him all the support he needs to get through it. He develops the strength to endure hardships and to continue following his interests and passions. In class, he bravely expresses his own opinions in an appropriate manner. During breaks, he can show his emotions and act freely. As an adult, he agrees to rules only after they have been discussed and he feels like he understands them. Neglectful parents are usually not present in their children's life. Nora often feels completely alone in the world. She experiences full freedom to do anything she wants to and has plenty of imagination, but she never receives any feedback or even attention. Nora realizes that it doesn't matter what she does because no one cares anyway. The lack of attention leads to a lack of trust in herself and others. She becomes insecurely attached, unable to form healthy relationships, and develops a negative image of herself. To stop feeling unworthy of love, she tries not to feel anything at all. In recent years, over-involved parents who are present in every aspect of their child's life are often referred to as the fifth style. These parents are also known as snowplows, removing obstacles out of their kids' path, or helicopter parents who hover about and micromanage every aspect of their child's life. Since they won't let their children do anything alone, the children can't learn to overcome challenges by themselves. Research infers that these children don't like to solve difficult problems, lack perseverance, and may even procrastinate in protest when something requires a lot of effort. Since most research on parenting is based on self-reports and was done in the US and Europe, it is not clear how strongly the observed effects will hold up in controlled observational experiments or in other parts of the world. The four parenting styles were first introduced by psychologist Diana Baumrind. For good parenting, she advised balance of demandingness and responsiveness. Add to that the wise words of Maria Montessori to never help a child with a task at which he feels he can succeed, and parents should do pretty well.
Now, I would like to hear what do you think? Which parenting style do you think leads to the best outcomes and why? So please feel free to switch on your video, to unmute yourself, or to share in the chat box What do you think? Which parenting style do you think leads to the best outcomes and why? Please feel free to unmute yourself or to write in the chat box, share some thoughts or share your experiences. If we look at authoritarian parenting, it focuses mainly on obedience, punishment over discipline. Now, authoritarian parenting, parents are very much unresponsive. They have very strict rules. They have high expectations and they expect blind obedience. Now, the outcomes that it could lead to is lower academic performance in the long run, or a lower sense of self-esteem, or poorer social skills when there's so much pressure to always be obedient. I see that Carol shared in the chat box that authoritative because it's a balance parenting style and the children grow up with coping skills and get through life hardships and adjust to being an adult. Yes. So if we look at the authoritative parenting style, what that is, it is a style that creates positive relationships and enforce rules. So this is a style that is characterized by warm and responsive parenting. There are clear-cut rules, there are clear boundaries, clear limits. The parents also have high expectations of the kids, but they're very much supportive and they value independence. Now, the associated long-term outcomes of this parenting style is it will lead to a child's stronger sense of self. They will have a better self-esteem. They will have higher academic performance and better pro-social social skills. If we look at permissive parenting, now permissive parenting is sort of an indulgent parenting style. It's still a warm relationship that the parents have with their child. They're warm and responsive, but they don't enforce any rules. Kids will be kids. There's really a lot of leniency and anything goes. The long-term associated outcomes with this parenting style is that it will lead to more impulsive behavior of the child. The children can become more egocentric, only focus on their own needs, and will have poorer social skills and problems within their social relationships, as we have also seen in the video. Now, the uninvolved parent or the neglectful parent, we can say they provide little guidance, little nurturing or attention to their child. They're sort of indifferent to their child's needs. They are cold and unresponsive, also no rules. The parent really doesn't care what the child does. So there's a bit of, a lot of indifference towards the child's needs. And the long-term associated outcomes with this parenting style is it can lead to impulsive behavior of the child. It can also lead to other social problems. I also see there's another comment that authoritative parenting is, the child is instructed, guided, supported. The parents know their boundaries, but have high expectations too. And that's true. The parents have high expectations, but they have clear set boundaries, which provides structure and safety for the child to function. We have now taken a look at the different parenting styles, but I would also like us to take a look at the different temperament types that we as adults and children have. Now, a temperament type is an individual's characteristic level of emotional excitability or intensity, and it is typically recognized within the first few weeks after birth. It is often assumed to be an early indicator of personality, though personality combines temperament with experiences to shape lifelong traits. Now, a temperament type ideally is how we react to certain situations. If we are more inclined to a certain temperament type, we would react in a certain way, or we would respond to things differently according to our temperament type. And as you see on the screen, there are 4 temperament types, and the classic names are the choleric, sanguine, melancholic, and phlegmatic names. And they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. Now, why is it important to know about temperament types? It's important to know about this because our kids have different personalities. And if we have a better understanding of their specific temperament type, we can respond better to their needs. We can have a better understanding of what are their strengths and weaknesses and how we can work on that and shape that when we interact with our kids and when we engage. So I want to go to the next slide, and I want to move to the disc temperament type. So it's still the same. It's color-wise, it's still the same, but it doesn't have the complicated names as the classical temperament types. But rather we look at the disc model. So the disc model shows the dominance, which is red. Dominance, also the directive child. It shows influence, which is yellow, which is also the interactive child. We look at the S, which stands for steadiness, but it's also the supportive child. And we see the C, which is compliance, which is the blue color, which is also the conscientious child. Now, we do not want to place children in a box, but it's good to have an understanding of the different temperament types, to have a better understanding of children's reactions and how they respond to certain situations. Now, if we look at the dominant child or the directive child, they are very directive. They are very decisive, very independent, to the point. They know what they want in life. They're often strong-willed, enjoys challenges and immediate results. They can be seen as kids who are a bit bossy, but have strong leadership skills. If we look at the influence or the interactive child, that is usually your child who is very optimistic, who's very social, outgoing, enjoy being part of a group, of a team. It's somebody who really motivates a team as well, who has great ideas, who likes to share, who likes to talk, who likes to have fun, really, and can really motivate other people in the team as well, or other kids in the group. If you look at the green one, the steadiness or the supportive child, that is usually your team players. Somebody who's a bit more shy, timid, more introverted, but very supportive. They want to make your dreams come true. They often show a lot of people-pleasing behavior, but they like stability, they like peace. They are great followers as well, very supportive, often good listeners, and they prefer to avoid conflict and any sort of change. If we look at the blue, the compliance or the conscientious child, that is usually a child who's very cautious, concerned, focused on what is correct and doing things perfectly. They like to plan ahead, and they are very much concerned about accuracy. Often they can be seen as perfectionists. They don't like change. They want to follow the recipe to the dot. They are very much task-oriented. And whereas the dominant child or the directive child is also very much task-oriented, whereas your interactive influencing child and your steady or your supportive child are very much relationship-oriented. Now, how do we respond to the different temperament types as a parent or as somebody working with children? Now, when we interact with kids, we can usually see how they react, how they complete a task, how they follow rules. Are they organized or disorganized? Can they follow instructions? How do they make contact with you? Is it very chaotic when they do something? Do they jump from one activity to another? Or can they stick with you and stick by you and follow what you are doing? So these are things and cues that you pick up when you interact or when you work with kids. So it gives you a better indication of what their temperament type could be. Sometimes a child could also have a combination of the different temperament types. They could be dominant or very much directive, or also be very much interactive or influential. So it can be a blend, it could be a combination. They can have a primary temperament type and a secondary temperament type. Or they can have traits of all the different temperament types. As I've mentioned, we don't want to place kids in boxes. We don't want to say, oh, but this is how it is, and this is how the child will always react to a certain situation. No, not at all. This is merely just for us as parents or people working with children to give us better insight into their functioning and into the ways that they respond. Now, how do we respond to a dominant child, a very directive child? We give them a lot of choices. They like to have goals. They want specific goals to work towards. You want to teach them how to slow down as well and relax. They often have very high expectations of themselves and set the bar quite high. So you want to teach them how to slow down, how to relax. You also want to show them how to regulate their emotions, and very importantly for parents, not only to show the child how to do it themselves, but also to help them regulate their emotions together. Now, the reason why I am showing you this is because you might be a parent that is very interactive, that's very sociable, that don't like a lot of structure, that is sometimes a bit disorganized. You know, when you take the kids to school, they're always a little bit late. So you might have, as a parent, a specific temperament type. And you will notice that you clash with your child just on practical things at times. You can't understand why is your child so stressed when you're late for school, or when you have to do something. You can't understand why your child is always tense when you are disorganized. So you can see that you have your own temperament type and your child has a different one from yourself, or you might have a similar one. But it helps as a parent to just have a bit better understanding of your child's type of temperament in order to respond to their needs. And like we've mentioned with the dominant child, they are very much focused on results and goal-oriented and very task-oriented. And when you as a parent have a dominant or directive child, if you want to do disciplining, or if you want to motivate your child, focus on giving them a lot of choices and setting goals. This is how you can really encourage them. But you also need to help them to relax and to co-regulate their emotions. If we move on to the influential child or the interactive child, that's the yellow one, they are very sociable, like we said, very much of a motivator within a group, but they can easily jump from one activity to another, might seem a bit disorganized, very bubbly, but sometimes they can also have a bit of inattention. They have a high need for personal recognition and acceptance. And if you, for example, as a dominant temperament type, you don't really care about recognition and acceptance. You know that you know your strengths and you know that you can accomplish the goals that you need. So you are not focused at all on, you don't need recognition or words of encouragement from others. So if you as a parent have that mindset and you interact with your interactive child who really needs that recognition and acceptance and you don't give it to them, it's a need that is unfulfilled. An interactive child really respond to kind words, to acknowledgement, encouragement. And when you want to discipline, or when you want to interact with this interactive child, which is also very much relationship oriented, it's a good thing to engage with them in a creative way, to do something together, for example, doing drawing together or coloring together, something that is creative, because they are also very creative in nature. If we move on to your supportive child, now that is the green color. They are kids, like we've mentioned, they are very much people pleasing. They would like to do everything correct and avoid any type of conflict. They struggle to make choices because they don't want to displease anybody, or they don't want to be assertive or be afraid that they are going to upset someone else. So when you have a child with this supportive personality or with this supportive temperament type, it's important to give them a lot of choices. You also need to encourage them to express their emotions, because sometimes they won't share what they really feel because they fear rejection or they fear that the other person won't accept it. And you need to provide them opportunities to be assertive as well. They can disagree. That is okay. You should encourage them to express their true thoughts. Also important when you have a supportive child is to keep your promises as far as possible. They struggle with disappointment. Like we've mentioned, they don't really like change. They like when things are stable, peaceful. And when you make a promise and you don't keep your promise, they can really struggle with disappointment. If we look at the compliance child, the conscientious child, that's the blue color, we know that kids in that temperament type, they are very much task-oriented. They need ample time to complete a task. They don't like to be rushed. They want to follow the instructions to the last T. You need to, as a parent, if you're perhaps an interactive parent with a yellow type of personality who's very disorganized or likes to move from the one thing to the other thing, you need to keep in mind that for your compliance, for your blue child, they don't like rushing. They don't like to jump from one activity to another. They need time, they need preparation. When you go on holiday, these kids, they don't like to rush and pack and leave and without ample preparation or time to pack or to prepare themselves. They need time. And they are much more focused on thoughts. So you can rather ask them, what are you thinking, instead of what are you feeling? Sometimes they also might find it a bit difficult to express their emotions. They are very much analytical. And the most important thing when having a child like this is not to focus on perfection, because they do set high standards for themselves as well, very high expectations. But to create a space where it's okay, it's okay. We are not looking for perfection, but rather praise the effort. I can see that you really put in a lot of time in doing your homework. I can see that you really, gave it your all. So rather focus on praising the effort instead of focusing on perfection or getting things right. Now, as I've said, all of these temperament types, it gives us a better insight on how to interact with our children, but we also need to focus on the strengths of these temperament types and build on that, but also build on the weaknesses, or rather try to develop the weaknesses in such a way that it can become a strength. And that is where you as a parent need to have a bit of insight into your child's functioning and their temperament type. Now, if we look at disciplining, positive disciplining techniques or positive parenting techniques, I would like to share with you the how to discipline without the drama methodology. Now, this is a wonderful book by Daniel Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson that really gives practical tips and practical ways on how to react and how to discipline in a positive way without the drama. Now, I think as parents or people working with children, I think that we can all use a little less drama. Am I right? So that is why I want to show you a couple of principles when it comes to positive disciplining. The no drama principle. Now, the methodology says that you can discipline in another way. Do you ever find yourself asking, after an especially difficult or agonizing interaction with your child, should I have not done this better? Or I can really handle myself better. I wish I did this differently. I really feel that I want to be an effective parent. I want to communicate more effectively with my child. And I really feel like I want to discipline in ways that is calm and that makes the situation more calm and not feel like it's out of control. And, I can do a lot. I can do with a lot less chaos in my life. You want the behavior to stop, but you want to respond in a way that values and enhances your relationship with your child. You want to build your relationship and you don't want to damage it, and you want to create less drama, not more. And it's possible. The methodology says that discipline is possible in a way that's on high relationship. In other words, it's a warm, comforting relationship. It's high on respect. There's a lot of respect when disciplining your child, and it's low on drama and conflict. And it is possible to build a relationship with your child, or to develop a relationship that builds on good relationship skills. And it is possible to improve the child's decision making, the ability to empathize with others, and to act in ways that prepare them for lifelong success and happiness. Now, effective parenting has two goals. The first one is obviously to get your child to cooperate and to do the right thing. For example, in this picture on this slide, you will see that the dad is demanding that the child give back the cell phone. Screen time is over. So obviously, when we discipline children, we want them to cooperate. That's the short-term objective, of course. You want them to do what you expect them to do. But the second goal that is just as important, and whereas getting cooperation is sort of like the short-term objective, the second goal is more focused on long-term. Now, it focuses on instructing our children in ways that develop skills and the capacity to resiliently handle challenging situations, frustrations, and emotional storms that might make them lose control. And these are internal skills that can be generalized beyond the immediate behavior in the moment, and then used not only now, but later in a variety of situations. This internal second major goal of discipline is about helping them to develop self-control and a moral compass, so that even when you are not around, or when authority figures aren't around, they are thoughtful and conscientious. It's about helping them to grow up and become kind and responsible people who can enjoy successful relationships and meaningful lives. So it is possible. It sounds like ideal, but it's possible. Now, the main thing about this type of parenting technique, or this positive disciplining way of going about disciplining your child, is having a connection mindset. Now, the first step in effective discipline is to connect with our children emotionally. That is what this disciplining is based upon. Connect with your child on an emotional level. The relationship with your child is central to everything that you do. You want them to experience the full force of your love and affection. And this can be even when you are having fun together, or when you are acknowledging an act of kindness, or when you are addressing a misbehavior. So the core elements is to connect emotionally, to foster that safe and authentic relationship, that your child can still experience your love and affection whilst you are addressing a misbehavior. If you look at the pictures on your screen, you will see that the first message that we send, sometimes as parents, when our children get angry or upset, we show this message at times, either with our body language or verbally, but you are on your own if you get angry and upset. I love you and I'll be here for you once you are done throwing your fit. But as long as you keep going this way, or you keep acting this way, I'm going to ignore you. So hurry up and finish being upset. That is what we sometimes do as parents. When we see misbehavior, we tend to punish it. We tend to tell our kids, go have a time out. And so the message that we are really giving our kids is, okay, I can deal with you, or I can interact with you again once you have settled down. You should sort out all of your problems in isolation and try to regulate all of your emotions on your own. And once you have done that, we can interact again. So that is the message that we sometimes send to our kids when we punish without being really emotionally involved. The message that we would like to give our kids is, I'm here for you, even when you are falling apart. And even when you are at your absolute worst, I can take it. I've got your back no matter what. So that is just the mindset that we are going to focus on now when disciplining your child, the connection mindset. Now, what you need to ask yourself when something happens, for example, there is conflict between the siblings at home, or for example, in this picture that you see on the screen, the child just hit the mud. She hit the mother. And obviously the first response would be of the mom, how to react is go to a timeout. You know, you did something wrong, I'm going to punish you, go to a timeout, or you know, whatever other consequence the mom might give. So that's usually the first response. We respond to misbehavior instantly. But what I want to encourage you to do is, before you respond to misbehavior, take a moment to ask yourself 3 simple questions. Okay, and that is the why question. Why did my child act this way? You know, you might think instantly, my child acted this way because she is a spoiled brat. She has no respect for me. This is why she acted this way. But I want to challenge you to rather approach this with more curiosity instead of making assumptions. Look deeper at what is going on behind a particular misbehavior. We can often understand that our child was trying to express or attempt something, but simply didn't handle it appropriately. So they might have had a different intention, but it turned out differently. It turned out into a misbehavior. But rather ask yourself, why did my child act this way, with more curiosity. If we try to do it, if we try to understand, gain better understanding, we can respond more effectively and with more compassion. So that is the first question. The second question that we can ask is, what lesson do I want to teach in this moment? Now remember, this is before we respond. So what lesson do I want to teach? In essence, what is the goal of disciplining? It isn't to give necessarily a consequence to what the child did, but we want to teach them a lesson. We rather want to teach them a life skill. We want to teach them about self-control, or the importance of sharing, or the importance of not hurting somebody else when you, or positive ways of gaining somebody else's attention. That is what we really want to teach our kids. And so this is what we need to reflect on. What lesson do I want to teach in this moment before you respond? And then the third question that you can ask yourself is, how can I best teach this lesson? So considering a child's age and their developmental stage, along with the context of the situation, how can we most effectively communicate what we want to get across? Too often we respond to misbehavior as if consequences were the goal of discipline. Sometimes natural consequences result from a child's decision, and the lesson is taught without our needing to do very much. But there are usually more effective and loving ways to help our kids understand what we are trying to communicate than to immediately hand out a sort of one-size-fits-all consequence. Now I want to ask you to listen to the following background music that I'm going to play. And I want you to envision yourself as a parent when you see something at home. Perhaps your child is playing with something that you have forbid them to play with, or they are doing something or starting to look like they want to do something which you have said, okay, that's off limits. You are sort of anticipating a situation to take place. It hasn't taken place yet, you are anticipating it. So I want you to envision what your background music is like. So I'm just going to play 2 sound clips for you, and I want you just to think, okay, which one of these sound clips resonates with you when you're interacting with your child? So when looking at the situation, is there calm background music playing in the background, or is it more like this? Now, please feel free to share in the chat box or to unmute yourself. What background music plays in your life when you see a situation is about to take place? Is it more tranquil background music, or is it like the Jaws soundtrack where you feel, oh goodness, shark music is playing and everything is just going to go into total explosion and chaos? So please feel free to share how you feel when interacting with your child, or when you see that misbehavior might occur, what background music is playing in the back of your mind. Oh, okay. I see that the sound quality was a little poor, choppy, very low volume. Thanks for sharing that. The music that I played was sort of a tranquil background music. And then there was the shark music that we, yeah, that's quite dramatic. That's very much like the soundtrack from Jaws, right? About when the shark is going to attack, there's always this dramatic music playing and there's a build-up. But so thanks for sharing. I want to look at shark music. So shark music was the dramatic clip that we played. Now, we as parents sometimes, you know, when we interact with our children, we have to pay attention to our background music. Shark music, as I like to call it now, dramatic music, takes us out of the present moment, causing us to practice fear-based parenting. Our attention is on whatever we are feeling reactive about. We worry about what's coming in the future or respond to something from the past. When we do so, we miss what's actually happening in the moment, what our children really need and what they're actually communicating. As a result, we don't give them our best. Shark music, in other words, keeps us from parenting this individual child in this individual moment. And as illustrated on the screen, instead of hearing shark music, like you can see that the girl has come back with a bad mark on her paper, and the mom going, oh, here we go again. It's the same old story, you know, having, you know, preconceived ideas already in mind. Shark music is playing. We would rather want to move to a place where we can connect with your child who needs you. The child, you know, needs encouragement and is very disappointed about this. And she already feels bad about this bad mark. But what does the mom do in the second picture? You seem disappointed about this grade. So we need to move from a space where we are always hearing this shark music or this dramatic music in the background to a space where we can really focus on connecting, focus on the emotional relationship with our child, focus on attuning to our child's needs, and being able to see, oh, my child is going through a difficult time. Let me rather comfort before I react instantly with preconceived ideas or assumptions. If we look at the second principle, the second connection principle, I want to encourage you to chase the why. Now, what does that mean? One of the worst byproducts of sharp music is the parental tendency to make assumptions about what we perceive to be obvious, okay? If a scary or emotionally charged soundtrack is clouding your mind when you interact with your child, you're not likely to be very objective about the reasons they are behaving the way that they are. All right, so instead, you're probably going to simply react based on information that might not be accurate. You will assume there's a shark swimming in the water or a monster hiding behind the tree, even if there's not one. So I want you to think about chase the why. Now, what I mean when I say that is instead of blaming and criticizing and coming with the sharp music and preconceived ideas, like you see the child in the picture is crying, the brother is like, oh, I don't know what's happening here. And the dad already has this preconceived idea and notion like, oh, what did you do this time? Immediately reacting with frustration, blame, and criticism. Rather chase the why. Now, the chase the why is to also be curious about what happened in here? What happened? What led to this situation? Rather of just instantly reacting and coming with your preconceived notions, chase the why. Why did this happen? And then the third connection principle that I want to look at today is to think about the how. Remember that sometimes your kids need your help calming down and making good choices. It's when their emotions get the best of them that we have the most discipline issues, right? So it's when they are unable to self-regulate or to control their impulses, or when they are showing misbehavior, that their emotions, they are in an emotional state and their emotions get the best of them. And just as you would want to, for example, when a baby is crying, when you pick the baby up and you want to calm and soothe the baby and pet the baby and help the baby to calm down, you want to help your child to calm down when they need it. So words are useful, especially when you are validating feelings, but most nurturing take place non-verbally. We can communicate so much without ever talking. The most powerful non-verbal response of all is the one that you probably do automatically. You touch your child or you stoop to the level of your child, come closer. And that provides comfort. You put your hand or your arm around your child. You pull them closer to you. You rub their back. You either hold their hand. You give a loving touch, whether it's subtle or it's like a squeezing of their hand. But this is something that really helps to diffuse a heated situation. So think about how you are going to respond to this situation. Think about how you're going to react. Think about the message that you're going to give your child. If you look at this picture on the screen, we can see that nonverbals are very powerful. So the boy, he broke a plate, and the mom's nonverbal message is, I can't deal with this right now. I can't deal with you. I blame you for making things so hard on me. So that's why I just want to encourage you to think about the how. Think about the nonverbals that you are displaying, that you are showing. Think about the way that you react, the way that you nurture, and how that can help to calm the situation. I want us to look at the no drama connection cycle. So whenever something happens, I want you to have these things pop into your mind when you want to discipline your child. Now, the first thing that you have to do is to communicate comfort. Now, communicating comfort is like what we've mentioned with think about the how. It is a way of communicating a sense of safety, a sense of comfort that, okay, something has happened, you have misbehaved. I'm going to step into the mode as a parent to discipline now. But the first thing that I need to do is I need to communicate comfort. I need to sort of diffuse the situation, and I need to get on the same level as my child, because I want to interact with my child in a loving way, and I want to teach my child something from this situation. How am I going to respond? So the first thing is to communicate comfort. Providing a safe space, stooping down to the level of your child, interacting, making eye contact, and just try to calm the situation. The second thing that you are going to focus on is validation. Validation of your child's feelings, of your child's emotions, of that which you can see, to validate it, to recognize it, to see it, to say, hey, I get you, I see you, I hear you. I am here, I'm present in this moment as a parent. The next thing in the cycle is to listen what your child has to say, and not listen to your own background music, but rather listen, an active listen to the messages that your child is giving you. And then the last one is to reflect on what has happened, to reflect on how you as a parent are going to respond. So this is the no drama connection cycle. Remember, we are focused on connecting with our child in the here and the now, in the present moment. When we communicate comfort, we do that by getting down on our child's level, providing messages of safety. I know, I'm right here, I'm present, I give you my full attention. And that in itself provides such a safe space for a child to be open, to be more receptive, and to really engage with you as a parent. So that is why it's so important just to make that initial contact, that comforting and nurturing contact with your child. The second thing is to validate. Now, the key to connection when children are reactive or making bad choices is validation. Now, we need to let our kids know that we hear them, we understand, we get it, whether or not we like the behavior or the results that stem forth from their feelings. But we want them to feel acknowledged and have a sense that we are with them, we are experiencing this, we are with them in the midst of them having this emotional storm. We are there. We want to attune to their needs, and we want to focus our attention on them. And so if you look at the images on the screen, instead of dismissing, like, what is the big deal about missing this play date? I mean, get over it. We need to validate. I understand that you are sad. I can see that you are upset about it. I can see that your face is a bit droopy, or that you feel like you have difficulty breathing. I can really see that it is affecting you. And I understand that you really wanted to go to this play date or to this party. I get it. So that is a message that we want to give our child as well. We want to validate, we want to recognize. The third thing that we need to do is, if you are anything like me, I tend to talk too much in a conflict situation. I think that I have the answer, and I'm just going to keep on talking until my point gets, until it sinks in, until I've made my point. I'm just going to keep on talking, and I'm going to repeat myself, and I'm going to repeat my statement. And at some stage, it's going to get through. But so if we do that, and we now realize that when a child is in an emotional state, they really don't respond to what we are saying, or respond to if we want to make a point about this. They just hear background noise. They just hear blah, blah, blah. We need to calm down the situation, and we need to provide kind words, or words that are not dismissive, but really just calm down the situation and listen to what our child has to say. Instead of trying to fix the situation instantly or provide answers, we need to take a step back and listen to what they are trying to say. We also need to look at their nonverbal communication, but we really need to listen to what they are saying. And we can paraphrase what they are saying. We can reflect it back. We can actively engage in conversation, that's fine. But the most important part is to listen and to relay and to check with your child. Is this what you meant when you said this? And I hear you are saying this. So really try just to listen to the messages that your child is giving you. And then the next thing that we need to focus on is reflecting. Now, with the 3 strategies, we've looked at communicating comfort, we want to validate feelings, and we need to listen. Now, the 4th step is to reflect back to our children what they've said. Like I've just said with the listening, we relay, letting them know that we've heard them. Rejecting their feelings returns us to the first strategy. Since we, if we reject what they are feeling, then the child wouldn't be receptive anymore. And this will really be detrimental to the whole disciplining process. So we need to listen actively to what they are saying, what they are sharing, and then we need to reflect. And so sometimes you see something, you see misbehavior, but in essence, the child is maybe saying non-verbally, like, I need to build better skills and I need to learn how to handle this. So you as a parent, instead of just dismissing the misbehavior, you can really reflect and say, okay, my child might need some support. What lesson do I want to teach my child? And how can I approach my child to help him or her learn this new skill? How can I teach this skill? So this is really where you reflect on how to best support your child. Now, that was quite a mouthful. Feel free to share your thoughts or your comments in the chat box, or to unmute yourself about those positive parenting techniques and on the no drama connection cycle. The key takeaways that I want you to reflect on from that is to really focus on relationship, focus on emotionally engaging with your child, and try to make the drama a lot less when it comes to disciplining. And that is done by asking yourself the 3 questions whenever there's misbehavior happening. Why is this child behaving? What happened? How can I respond to this in the best way? And what do I want to teach my child? Also, think about your own background music and how that clouds you, or how that makes you more subjective when you actually just need to be neutral going into the situation. So just try to focus on that things. Focus on validating your child's feelings. Focus on listening and talking less. And then reflecting on how can I really support my child? What does my child need? Because we as parents, we want to attune to our child's needs. We want to connect with them on an emotional level. And that, in essence, will help us to discipline with a lot less drama. I would like to share some tips on how to playfully engage with your child on a daily basis. So we have spoken about disciplining. I want to talk a bit more about how to really connect with your child, how to engage with one another, how to enhance your parent-child relationship, how to bond. And I want you to focus on 3 things every day. And so these 3 things are quite crucial, especially when it comes to finding them or finding the time to do them. But I want you to focus on finding the time every day to connect with your child, finding a space to do that in, and I want you to focus on playing with your child, engaging with the child in their natural language. So the first thing is time. How do we find the time in our busy lives, in our busy schedules? We have so limited time available, and especially now during COVID times when parents are working from home, they are all of a sudden they need to balance being, full-time employed in their profession. Now they have to be teachers, they have to be mentors, they have to be tutors, they have to be, the sporting coach, they have to be this, they have to be that. So there's a lot of demands on parents during this time as well. School has moved online. They need to support their children, need to make sure that they, are able to follow the classes. So it seems like there's just not enough time. But I want to encourage you to find at least 15 minutes in a day to spend with your child. No screens, no phones, totally offline, and to communicate to your child that this is our special time. And schedule it in your calendar or set a timer for 15 minutes or a reminder on your phone. But the first thing to do is just to find time. Find at least 15 minutes. If you can manage to do 15 minutes, that is great. If you can manage to do more, even better. But try to find a time of the day. It can be in the morning, it can be in the evening, but just 15 minutes of your day that you can spend with your child totally engaged, totally offline. The second thing that I would encourage you to do is to find a space with limited distractions. It can be inside, outside. Try to move away from the space where you have been the whole day. Perhaps if you've been in the house the whole day, try to do something perhaps outside. A change of scenery is always good, but try to find a space where you can actively engage and connect with your child. This is a safe space, a place to connect, to share, engage, and to nurture. It can be in the child's room, it can be anywhere, but try to alternate and to find a space where it's just you and your child with limited distractions. And then I would like you to pick a playful activity that your child loves to do and do that for 15 minutes together. You can talk about your day if your child is a bit more verbal, or you can choose to play a game like throwing a ball outside or building a puzzle or a drawing activity, but encourage your child to choose what they would like to do. If they struggle to pick something, you can pick something, but really try to attune it to your child's temperament type or towards their interest with them. Because playing together enhances the parent-child relationship. You enter your child's world when you play. There's a lot of benefits of playing, but it's the child's natural language. It's how they communicate with their world. And it's a way for a parent to bond with their child. It can be a creative activity, as I've mentioned. It could be something like doing a breathing activity together, or a grounding exercise, or a relaxation activity. It can be a way of just becoming aware of your senses together, being mindful together, but really focus on making contact with your child. And you can do that by using playing with toys or playing a game. And the most important thing is have fun. Experience the joy and relax. If your child wants to read a story, or if your child wants you to read the story, do that. Or maybe have a puppet show, or maybe do something different every day or in the same line, but to have that special time of day for you and your child. And of course, there are a lot of fun family ideas to do together as a family. There are playful ideas, active things that you can do, creative things that you can do, practical things that you can do together, but try to build it into your life on a structural basis, once a week or maybe once a month, if time allows, but really try to do these things together as a family, so that you as a family unit can grow together, can support one another, can engage, and can really thrive together. So there's a couple of fun ideas that you can do together as a family. You can play a card game. You could watch old home videos. You can do a couple of mindfulness activities like playing I Spy. You can play board games. You can play dress up or build a puzzle together. Active things like active play, and sometimes kids might have difficulty to initiate something to do. And so active playing is always a good idea, where you have to actively engage, throwing a ball or building a puzzle together. It's active, or doing construction play, playing with recyclable materials, things like that. So active things that you can do, and creative things like drawing or playing with clay, making a collage, things like that. it's something that you can do together as a family to really just encourage the relationships or to enhance the relationships. And now I would like to move towards the last part of the presentation. I've spoken really a lot, but now I want to focus more on you. But first of all, I want to look at this meme. So this is the meme of a mom who just has too many things to do. And when you come to a point where you can't handle one more thing, that's what happens. So look through the comic, and then I'll move on to the next slide. So we can see that mom has totally lost it. She sort of went into the static mode where she can't process, like computers failing. she can't go on. And then I wanted to take a look at this picture as well. And this is more of in a perhaps moms and dads, how they should also be attuned to one another. But take a moment just to look at this meme. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate with that, you know. Sometimes it feels like things can be overwhelming. You have so many things to do. You have to take you know, care of the household. You need to take care of yourself as partners, as parents. You need to be on the same page as well. But there's a lot of demands, and it can have its toll. And that is why I want to first of all ask you, what do you do for self-care? If you don't have kids, I want to ask you, what are your positive coping strategies? How do you deal with challenges in your life? And so please feel free to share, just like, what do you do in the midst of all of this, perhaps working from home, having to school the kids as well, having limited time for yourself. What do you do for self-care? Is there time for it? Is there no time for it? And if somebody can just share what they do, that would be great. You can share in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself, but share a couple of ideas what you do for self-care. Feel free to share in the chat box or to unmute yourself, just to share a bit of things that you do for self-care. Do you do it on a weekly basis? Do you manage to do it on a daily basis? What do you do when it comes to self-care? You can see that there's a couple of suggestions as well of things that we can do as parents for ourselves, that could help us to really just nurture and provide comfort and focus on ourselves. I see some comments coming in. Reading, oh, that's wonderful. Yes, taking time to read for pleasure. Another one coming in, watch a movie or go for a long walk. Yes, that really helps to provide comfort and to provide you with, you know, it fills up your cup so that you have, you know, enough energy to tend to the needs of those around you. Thank you so much for sharing. So on the screen, we see there's a couple of ideas for self-care, doing meditation, or just going offline, turning off your phone, coloring, listening to music, going for a walk, as you've mentioned, pampering yourself, reading a book, listening to an audio book, or listening to things that we can do and we need as well. I want to challenge you now to draw an outline of your hand. I hope you have a piece of paper available next to you, but I would like to give you just a moment to draw an outline of your hand. And I want you to write down a coping strategy or self-care strategy in each finger. So draw an outline of your hand, and in each finger write down a coping strategy, something that you might already, and then on the same, a couple of positive parenting statements for yourself. So the first thing that I want you to do is to write the statement I want. And there you can really write down what are your wishes when it comes to parenting, or when you are working with kids. If you don't have children, you can write down what do you want. So you can write I want, and then you can name a couple of things that you want when it comes to parenting or working with children, a wish that you might have. Then I want you to move on to I can. And there I want you to write down an affirmative statement or something that you can. I can deal with misbehavior, or I can communicate effectively. But I want you to write down the things that you can do as a parent. And remember, this is a positive parenting exercise. So I want you to think of positive messages. Then I want you to move towards the I am. I am a loving parent, for example, or I am able, or I am a very compassionate person. Write down something that describes you, or who you are as a parent or as a person working with children. Move on to I know. I know that my family loves me, or I know that I can deal with conflict in an effective way, for example. And then lastly, I want you to write down I have. And this is something that you have. It's sort of like, I have a lot of things to be grateful for in my life. I have a wonderful, supportive family. I have a wonderful husband, for example, that supports me. But so just focus on writing down positive statements for yourself on this page after you have drawn your hand, written down a coping strategy that you would like to use, and just focus on those 5 statements. And I'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes just to focus on this and to write down these statements. Let's take about 1 more minute. I want to encourage you to paste this against the wall, put it up against the wall somewhere where you can see it next to your mirror where you brush your teeth in the morning, or on your closet door, but just to have a visual reminder of the things that you can do as a parent or a person working with children, on how to tend to your own self-care and how to cope with things when things get difficult, or to have at least options of things that you can do to make yourself feel better, to nurture yourself and to comfort yourself. And read the positive statements that you've written about yourself whenever you are in doubt, or when things feel a bit overwhelming, or when you feel like, oh, I don't know how to be the best parent that I could be. Parents tend to keep themselves to very high standards, and sometimes parents fail and make mistakes, and that's okay. The most important is to be able to come back to that space where you feel like, okay, I want to show my child the full force of my affection and my love, and connect with my child in an emotional way, and to create that space where your child can do the same. And so you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. And that's very important, to keep this cup filled and to continuously refill the cup as a parent or as somebody working with children. I want to conclude by showing you a sort of a stretching bodily activity that you can do with your child. It's fun. It's a grounding exercise. Something that you can do together when you just want to make contact in the here and the now, do a bit of mindfulness together, just to be present in the moment. And so I'm going to switch on my video. Feel free to switch on yours as well and to participate. But wherever you are, in the room where you are, you can pretend that you are an apple tree. And so, as apple trees, we have the branches, right? And so, let me just get my screen so you can see me better. But so we have branches up in the air, and we feel the wind blowing through our branches, and it makes a sound. The wind blowing through our leaves and our branches. Oh, and all of a sudden there's a very strong wind coming. Oh, and our branches are, it's going really like this. Oh, left, right. It's going through our branches. And then all of a sudden the wind tapers down. Oh, it's like a nice relaxed breeze blowing through our leaves and through our branches. And all of a sudden there's a gust of wind coming, and it's blowing our branches like this, and we feel like we're toppling over and going up again, and all of a sudden it just slows down a bit, and it's a very nice soft breeze. Now, once you have done a bit of that, I want you to pick apples in your apple tree, and I want you to pick the apple and to put it down in the basket. So try to see how many apples you can pick with your child. Really encourage them to reach as high as they can to get that apple and to put it down in the basket and to slowly reach up again. Oh yes, I got that one. I picked it. Then I'm going to put it in my basket again. I'm going to find that one over here. That one is quite close. I'm going to take that apple and I'm going to bend down and put it in my basket. And I need to reach a bit to get that one. So I pick up my apple, I got it, and I put it in my basket. And to conclude, you can take a couple of deep breaths, going in, branches going up and out, branches going down, and you go in, branches up, and you breathe out. branches down. So that's just a fun activity, fun breathing. All right, how do you feel after being an apple tree? As anybody would like to share? There's time for some questions or share in the chat box, or to share your video, unmute yourself if you have any feedback or comments about today's presentation.
I can share something.
Yes.
I have a daughter who is a planner, and I am not a planner.
Yeah.
So she will ask me days before, you know, when are we doing this? What time? What should I pack for this trip? What do? And before, I would really get offended, because in my mind, what would be going through is, are you thinking I'm not planning enough for you? I'm not doing a good job. I'm, you know,
Yes.
so I'm that out of her. You're saying this about mommy. You're saying this about mommy. And just, you know, I guess today, or even just before, I guess maybe God has just been working on this in my heart, just getting to a place where I realize this is who I am and this is who she is. It's not a discipline issue. It's not an obedience issue. She's not trying to undermine my authority. This is just who she is.
Yes.
And that's okay. So hearing you share about that today was just really a great reinforcement to what I've already been thinking about. So
thank you so much for sharing. And yes, it's just good to have a bit of insight into this, because like you said, you know, sometimes you can't understand, does she think that I'm not doing my planning well enough, or don't I allow ample time? You know, you thought about this before, but some children really need that structure, and it provides them a lot of safety and comfort when they are prepared well, or when they know things well in advance, especially if she is more somebody who likes to plan, somebody who doesn't like change, somebody who likes to follow, you know, things to the recipe, or need to follow the instructions exactly as is. And that is why it's so interesting to learn about the different temperament types and how we can really respond to that, just to have a better understanding. Like we differ, and sometimes it can create tension. But if we have a little more compassion, empathy for each other and for the way that we deal with things, and try to bring that into perspective when we talk to one another, especially in our relationships as well. If you can provide a bit of context, or provide a bit of insight as to, okay, this is how I do things, or this is what gives comfort to me, or this is what makes me feel comfortable, it can provide better understanding for the other person, or a bit more context, and they can, you know, develop that empathy to realize, oh yeah, okay, maybe when I'm very flexible and I just don't plan anything, and then when I just pitch up at your house and say we have to do this now, it can create a lot of stress to the other person. So it really helps just to, thanks for sharing. I see there's a very good, my daughter does not want to stop plugging the apples. That's good. Get that body, get those apples. And it's a good bodily exercise for us, just to, do a bit of breathing and just to do a bit of body movements. It helps us to make contact with ourselves as well. All right, thank you so much for joining me today, and please feel free to share any feedback or any comments. Please feel free to reach out. Join us again, not next week, but the week after that. We are going to talk more about learning support, and we will then specifically look at the Wise Eye reading program, good readers become exceptional readers. And also, please feel free to check out the discussions on play therapy and child coaching on our Facebook page that I've done previously. Thank you so much, and I wish you a very a lovely afternoon. Goodbye.
Thanks so much. It was really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely afternoon. All right. Goodbye.